Good afternoon, everyone, on this cold and snowy day. Welcome to the series, Pathways Out of Poverty, Northern Virginia. Coming to you today from McLean, Virginia, I'm James Foster, representing the Faith and Public Policy team here at Lewinsville Presbyterian Church, who, along with our friends from Redeemer Lutheran Church, are happy to bring you today's conversation, Enhancing Financial Empowerment, with Annamarie Lusardi of the George Washington University, Maria Jose Cantoni of Britepaths, and Donna Snyder-White of UnitedWay. Our moderator is Lewinsville's very own Irene Foster, also a professor at GW. Thank you all for being with us here today, providing your insights during this special weekend as Americans celebrate the life of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who dedicated many of his 39 years removing barriers for people, both spiritually and materially. Now, before introducing the series and the moderator, I'll turn the virtual podium over to Pastor Scott Ramsey of Lewinsville Presbyterian Church for today's invocation and some brief comments. Scott?
James, thank you very much. And hello, everybody. It is a delight to be here on behalf of Lewinsville Presbyterian. I just want to say that we are so glad to be co-sponsoring this with Pastor Sandy Kessinger and the saints at Redeemer Lutheran and Tyson's Interfaith, and just really appreciate the importance of the topic and the series of these. So as we're getting in, why don't we join our hearts and minds together in prayer on this afternoon. Let us pray. Almighty and holy God, we give you great thanks and praise for this time this afternoon and for these other dear people with whom to gather to think about people who are living in poverty and ways that they can be helped to find their way out. On this Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, we give you thanks for all of your servants down through the ages who have shared your heart for the poor and who have committed their lives and their energies to helping the poor and to making the world a kinder and gentler place. And so as we gather together this afternoon, we ask for your spirit. We ask that you would open our hearts, open our minds, open our resources in order that we may be found to be participating with your flow of love and justice and mercy in our world. All of these things we pray in your holy and beautiful name. Amen. Thanks, James. It really is a delight, and just am so excited about this whole series. And so I want to thank you and all the people who are coordinating this. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. At this time, I'd like to take just a minute or two to introduce the series and thank some folks for helping make it happen. The series begins with the premise that poverty is a multidimensional concept, where pathways out of poverty require public and private investments in people. This view is part of a revolution in how economists measure poverty and well-being, with conceptual origins in Professor Amartya Sen's capability approach, subsequently implemented by a colleague and me in our broadly used Multidimensional Poverty Index, or MPI, and the other indicators based on it, including Bhutan's Gross National Happiness Index. Our goal in this series is to highlight the barriers to escaping poverty in Northern Virginia and identify solutions that we all might contribute to. Pathways Out of Poverty in Northern Virginia is the brainchild of Phil Church of Lewinsville and follows a long line of events presented by Lewinsville's Faith and Public Policy Committee, which Ray Martin spearheaded for some 25 years or so of Lewinsville's 175 years of existence, and works with its Matthew 25 initiative, its Earth Care initiative, and Better Angels. Redeemer Lutheran is a natural partner with Lewinsville, sharing similar values evidenced by action. I want to thank Liz Scheffler and Judy Kuhagen and their colleagues at Redeemer for all their help. Finally, we thank Maria Najjar of GW and Betty McElroy of Lewinsville for helping us negotiate the inevitable technical challenges of this event. Thank you. The next episode in the series will take place in March and focuses on reducing educational barriers to escape poverty. The last or previous episode on affordable housing is available online at lewinsville.org. Now, today's moderator knows a thing or two about financial and economic literacy, since she has spent the last several decades imparting it to thousands of students at Vanderbilt, Tennessee State University, and the George Washington University, where a typical term brings her in contact with more than 500 students. As the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusiveness Officer for GW's Department of Economics, she is committed to helping at-risk students and helping them to succeed, and recently published a book, Basic Math for Principles of Economics, which uses economics concepts to teach the mathematics needed to understand economics in today's world. Her innovative course of the same name has revolutionized the study of economics at GW, effectively removing math as a barrier to understanding economics. She's now exploring its modular use by high schools and lifelong learning programs. Welcome, Professor Foster. The Zoom is yours.
Thank you so much, James. I do want to say, though, I am not an expert in financial literacy. My interest is in economic literacy. So I just wanted to make that clear. Welcome, everyone, to this wonderful discussion we are going to have today. I, just like you, am very excited to hear what our speakers have to say. So I'm going to do a quick introduction of our three speakers, a quick introduction of what they're going to be speaking about, and then also talk about how we will ask questions during this discussion. First of all, let me introduce my esteemed and much admired colleague, Annamarie Lusardi. Dr. Lusardi is University Professor of Economics and Accountancy at GW and the founder and director of its Global Financial Literacy Excellence Center. I have followed her work since she initially started working with PISA and OECD on publishing the results of all of the PISA surveys across different countries. I have been fascinated by her work, and so have many other people who have taken notice. I cannot describe to you, I just simply couldn't go into the honors and accolades that she has received for her work. She has worked with the US Treasury Department in financial education. She is currently designing a national strategy for financial literacy for Italy. So Annamarie, I just recently looked at one of your articles in Forbes that came out in October, and I was fascinated by the article, which the title of the article was Who is Afraid of Financial Education? And in the article, you talked about the fact that, in fact, there is a great pushback against financial education, both in this country and in countries overseas. So I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on that and why that may be the case. Our next speaker is Maria Jose Cantoni. Maria, I haven't met you before, but I'm very eagerly looking forward to what you have to say. Maria is originally from Argentina. She is director of the Financial Empowerment Center at South County in Fairfax County, and which serves something like 2,000 clients per year. She was recently recognized by UnitedWay of the National Capital Area as the most successful financial empowerment center launched in the history of the program in the region. I cannot wait to hear what makes it so successful. Our third speaker is Donna Snyder-White. Donna is Vice President of Financial Empowerment at UnitedWay of Delaware, where she covers one strategic, amongst many others, one strategic initiative called StandByMe. And StandByMe is unique because it has a multi-stakeholder approach and has received national recognition for this approach to financial empowerment. So ladies, my description of what I've been told is going to happen today is that we are going to be talking about what is financial literacy, how do we measure financial literacy, Why is it important? What is financial education? Why are people pushing back against it? And what programs are successful and what types of programs are not? And what are the barriers? And how can we help with what you all are doing in your different areas? I suggest that we hold all questions till the end. What I would like is for everyone to please queue up in the chat. So if you don't mind, if you have a question or a comment, please go into the chat and just put your name down and say question for Ana Maria, or question for Maria Jose, or question for Donna, and then I will call upon you in order. So thank you, everyone. I won't hold us up anymore. Ana Maria, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Irene, and good Sunday to everybody. I'm delighted to be here and to talk a little bit about my work on financial literacy. In case you are wondering, yes, this accent is Italian, in case you were wondering whether I am from Brooklyn or something like that. And the accent doesn't go away, so it kind of stays with you, and it is as strong as it comes. Just to be precise, and because I'm going to speak about data and definitions and so on, even though I have resisted the idea, I'm going to show you a presentation, just because I think maybe the number and the figure can maybe speak by themselves, and it might be easier to bring home this important point. And the point I want to make is that financial literacy today is an essential skill that we all need. And I always say it's like water in an ecosystem. And of course, there is a system composed of many parts. We have to consider all parts to make it work. But I think financial literacy is a very important one. So bear with me as we go through some of the data, so that I think I can illustrate why I think there is a crisis of financial illiteracy and why it matters. It matters everywhere. It matters in Virginia. It matters in the US. It matters around the world. So it's something that we need to address, and doing it at the local level, I think, is the best way to be effective. So let me share I try to make it as short as possible. But what I want to illustrate are exactly these 3 points. Why is there a crisis of financial illiteracy? And who are the people who are most vulnerable? And, let's also talk about remedies, because it's really time, in particularly after this crisis, or while we are experiencing this crisis, to be more proactive. And I think this crisis gives us an opportunity to reimagine the future and change the course, because we cannot go back to the normal, because that normal was not good enough. I want to tell you briefly about a project that I've been working on more recently. 5 years ago, we started a collection of data about financial literacy, and Irene mentioned, what is financial literacy? What we collect here is basically knowledge of all of these topics for which we have to make decisions in our daily life. And so I think, financial literacy and personal finance knowledge is knowledge and understanding that allows us to make good financial decision making. So to do so, we have collected data on as many as 28 questions covering these 8 topics, which are, where we make the most fundamental decisions, from our saving decision, investing, borrowing, insuring, but also, where we go to get information, earnings, and so on. The topic that you would cover in a personal finance course, and the personal finance course I am talking about is our life. And today, these are some of the topics, on which we make decision, I think, fundamentally early on, like 15 years old, people are asked to make decision about, where to go to college or whether to continue their education and how to support that education. We are asked today to, make decision about saving for retirement, but also we are confronted with lots of decision about borrowing, and we are confronted with a lot of complex financial products. So, we wanted to assess how much people know. Do they know the fundamental concepts that are at the basis of this financial decision making? And what I wanted to tell you is that the answer is a clear no. When we look at people, how much knowledge do they have? They basically can answer only about half of all of those questions. And as you know, and Irene, I think, can tell you this, if you only answer half of the questions in our test, you don't get a passing grade and you don't even get a C, right? But, what is worrisome here is not just that people don't know, and these are mostly of the topic that related, these are the questions related to what we decide kind of every day. But, many people as well, 1 in 5 Americans cannot even answer 7 of those 28 questions. And what is worrisome is not just that the financial literacy is low, and this is confirmed in other studies as well, but is that it's not improving over time. If we look at these 5 years, there has been hardly any improvement. And, also this group of people that have very, very low level of financial literacy remains kind of stable, at 20%, so 1 in 5 Americans. In fact, it's not that it's 1 in 5 Americans. When we focus on the group who are most vulnerable, we identify the group that, are vulnerable on other dimensions. So, for example, there is a big gender difference in financial literacy. And I have to tell you, this is true worldwide. And women in particular there's a bigger group at the bottom and a smaller group at the top of the people who are able to answer the majority of the questions. And today, tomorrow is Martin Luther King's Day, and there is a very sharp race and ethnical difference in financial literacy as well, where, for example, African Americans are the one which have the lowest level of financial knowledge and kind of the largest group of people that have very low financial literacy. And also, the young as well. I'm looking here at the population 18 and older, and as expected, the young as well as very little financial literacy, as are the people with low income, low education, and those who don't have a job. The problem is that if we look at over time who is acquiring financial knowledge, we see a divergence, which is that is the people who have higher financial literacy who are actually getting better over time. So it's the people with higher education and the people who are employed or exposed to financial education. So in other words, left to itself, this system is getting more diverse and is also not increasing very much in financial knowledge. The vulnerable group, if any, are becoming even more vulnerable. And here I want to pause for a moment and tell you that, why do we care about financial literacy and financial knowledge? And, I just want to say it's like water in an ecosystem. We need that basic knowledge to be able to flourish. Clearly, there are lots of problems. There are predatory, probably lending. There are not good labor markets. There are lots of issues, but also, our capacity to navigate the system, having this basic knowledge, and this is what we measure here, is important to be able to navigate a system and to be able to flourish. And I want to document in particular the fact that financial literacy is very expensive. It's the people who don't have the knowledge that pay the highest price, for financial services, but also, our financial illiteracy is linked to a lot of financial behavior which is, potentially problematic, and the fact that people are not, financially well. And I want to maybe document this in, two simple cases. One, I want to show you a question we have asked, which is how many hours per week people spend dealing with issues and problems related to personal finance. Okay, so we ask them, how many hours do you spend? Just to, now we can have some measure, how much, in a sense, it is part of our life, and it takes your time, and how many of these hours are at work. So people tell us that they are spending an average of 7 hours a week dealing with issues and problems related to their personal finances. Almost an entire day is devoted, working day is devoted to dealing with this personal finance. And what you can see here, the lower is your financial literacy level, the higher is the number of hours you spend, potentially because maybe that lack of financial literacy has created problems down the road. And also those people spend those hours at work as well. An average of 3 hours at work is devoted to financial literacy. So, one, in a sense, can do some back on the envelope calculations, right? About maybe for the employer, there is indeed a business case for providing financial education, because in any case, people which have problems and suffer from financial anxiety and other things, are going to carry that with them at work. And I also want to mention another feature now, what I have called financial fragility. So I want to look at a behavior which is very linked or a proxy of financial well-being. And it is the capacity of people to face a shock. This is important because, shocks are part of our life, and they can derail our life if we are not prepared, or if you don't have the financial resources to face them. And so since actually 10 years ago, I've been collecting data on this measure of financial fragility, which we designed together with another collaborator from Harvard Business School. And this is just a measure of whether people can come up, what is their confidence of coming up with $2,000 in a month time. So it's not $2,000 today, but if you have a month to come up with $2,000 because of an expected expense, can you do it? Okay. And so we measure people who say, no, I cannot do it, or no, I don't think I have the capacity to do it. And we measure this right after the financial crisis of 2008. And I want to show you the face of financial fragility. I want to show you kind of the data on financial fragility and just tell you how fragile American families are. At the cusp of that financial crisis in 2008, when we started to collect the data, was 2009, 1 in 2 Americans would not have been able to face a shock of $2,000. Okay, so this is just to tell you how much America was hurting after that financial crisis. Remember the economy started, picking up, and it was doing very well, but in 2020, we collected data in January. So this was before the start of the virus, of the COVID-19. And if you remember, I don't know if you remember those, it looks so back, it looks so far away. But in January, the stock market was at an all-time low. Unemployment was at an all-time low, and the stock market was at an all-time high. So this was a time where America was doing really well. 10 years after the financial crisis, almost a third, 27% of Americans would not have been able to face a shock, right? So the economy doing well doesn't lift all boats. And in fact, there is quite a proportion of people who is working, who is facing a booming economy. In fact, they couldn't come up with $2,000 in 30 days. No wonder we see these long lines at the food bank, right? In fact, just right after the week after the economy shut down, in fact, many families would not have been able to face this shock, a small shock, let alone a big one like this one. And what I wanted to show you is that this is actually strongly linked with financial literacy as well. People who are more financially literate are better able to put some of the money aside, not because, probably because they are better able to manage their finances. And I'm very aware of all of the constraints that people have. But for example, this capacity to face shock is also part of having that basic knowledge. So because this is so important, what can we do? I really want to spend a little bit of time, and I know I probably have 2 seconds only, but to talk about programs, because it's so important that we try to address it, because left to itself, the system, I don't think is finding a solution. And I think it really starts with having big program at school, in the workplace, and where people go to learn. Everywhere, in a sense, try to put financial literacy everywhere, in the town hall, in the church, in the libraries, but certainly at school. And in the school, it can also spill over to parents and to the community. And so, what, for example, the data tell us, and we have done a lot of programs, is that, you have to be specific to people. You have to target the people. You can't just do this one size fits all. And some group can be particularly important. If you target the women, they have a multiplier effect. If you target the young, you're investing for the future and potentially also investing in parents. So we have designed a program. It's called Fast Lane, because we want to put the student on a fast lane to financial security that offer all of the resources to have financial education in your school. Okay, so even though your school doesn't provide financial education, be proactive. Try to put it in the school, because you will invest in the future in these young people who really need this knowledge, and then parents and the community can also benefit from that. If you don't know how to start, here are all of the resources to start. We have used our research to design program for the workplace. Believe me, it doesn't take the employer to be generous, because the employer is paying for this cost of financial anxiety and financial illiteracy of their employees. So it's very advantageous for the employer to do so and to care for the employees. That I think is often what the employees want. And there are actually many other initiatives that I love to be able to talk to you afterwards. But let me just repeat that, financial literacy today is part of living well. And in the same way, we take care of our health, we also need to take care of our financial well-being. We need to be able to build some financial resilience, so we are, better equipped to deal with shocks, small and big, and to be able to invest for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Annamarie. You've given us a lot to think about. I now call on our second speaker to tell us a little bit about the financial empowerment programs that they are working with. Our second speaker is Maria Jose Cantoni.
Well, thank you, Irene, very much. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today to this event. I am really pleased. I am very excited about being part of this conversation. So what I will do, I will share information about the Financial Empowerment Center and the work that we are doing in the community. So give me 1 second. There you go. Okay, so the Financial Empowerment Center is an initiative that we took together with Britepaths. Britepaths in 2017 was awarded by a grant through the UnitedWay of the National Capital Area in partnership with Fairfax County Neighborhood and Community Services to administer the Financial Empowerment Center at South County. Britepaths is a nonprofit organization. Maybe many of you have heard about that before. It's a local nonprofit here in Fairfax County who have been around for 35 years and who have been providing services around food support, financial assistance, and financial literacy was one of the biggest services. So when this project came along, it was a perfect match for us. The mission of the Financial Empowerment Center is educate, empower, and move people toward financial stability in a trusted and non-judgmental environment, trying to use the expertise in the community to help the community. We are committed to tailoring our services and to meet the everlasting changings of the crisis that our clients are facing. So we are really trying to see exactly what's going on in the community and what else we can provide in order to help our clients. One of the biggest things that we talk about with our clients and when we are trying to promote our services is that our services are free. There is no charge at all to receive any services, to participate in a workshop, to have a one-on-one financial consultation, to be able to have a tax preparation or consultation, to have a business, a coaching with somebody to talk about a business idea maybe that you have. And all this is possible because we are working in a nonprofit organization. There is no referral required for our clients. So basically anyone can participate. You just need to give us a call, you need to send us an email, or you can register yourself. One of the things that we promote very, very heavily and we invest a lot of time is around the financial literacy, about a basic budgeting, to understand what are your finances right now. What are the things that you need to do to improve your credit report? Because we know that credit report implies a good credit score. Credit score implies access to finances, to money, to a good work, to rent an apartment, and so on and so on. So we really need to invest time on that. All our services obviously were totally in person until the pandemic hit. So when that happened, we moved everything online. We start using Zoom, video teleport, Google Voice, and a weekend after we close our office in person, we start providing these services. One of the things that we noticed and we really were pleased to see were that our clients, we gave them more flexibility in the way that they can access our services. For example, in the past, our workshops were usually in the evening. Having a workshop in the evening means that the mom who was participating sometimes was bringing their kids along. And even the mom was fantastic, bringing maybe food or a toy or maybe a book. An hour and a half of a workshop, it was too much for the kids. So having the workshop at home, being able to actually join us in the Zoom meeting, you can hear sometimes the kids on the background, but they are able to join and be able to prepare the food, have the kids close by. There is no transportation, there is no childcare cost or arrangement that they need to do in order to participate in our services. Here is some information, a snapshot about the numbers of the clients that we have been working for the last year. In 2021, yes, we finished our third year. We are now in our fourth year. These are the people who participate in the unique clients, the one-on-one consultation. And when I said one-on-one consultation, that is going to include the financial coaching session, workforce development, consultation, and the small business consultation. The almost 3,000 clients were people who attend workshops. 90% of the workshops that we provide are for financial literacy. We recently started a series where we combine the financial literacy plus the workforce development, because we were seeing with our clients that many of them had a lot of questions about resume, had question about the basic things that you need to consider when you are looking for a job, saying maybe healthcare, the retirement plan, how exactly you need to read your paycheck, things that you don't know. And if you don't know, you may be taking wrong, not very informative decisions, let me say. So during last year, we provide maybe around 260 workshops, all of those online. As I mentioned before at the beginning, we are working with different organizations, right? Organizations who are providing services such as food banks or financial assistance, or people who are working in the housing industry. So they are the ones who, while they are working with their clients in the specific situation, maybe to help them to achieve a permanent house, they need that the client also understand a little better their personal finance, trying to understand how to create a budget so they can not be in the same situation they are right now, maybe with 3 months of backup rent. We also partner with other organizations to bring their expertise to the Financial Empowerment Center. For example, we are working with Northern Virginia Legal Services so they can provide a bankruptcy clinic, provide information about if bankruptcy is something that really is going to help you or not to move forward, to provide a tax debt relief clinic. IRS, there is a lot of people who have debt with IRS. So exactly how you can deal with that. What are the things that you can do? What are the options that you have? Calling IRS is not an option, but so maybe Legal Services of Northern Virginia can actually help you to make the next move. 80% of our services with financial literacy are done by volunteers. Our volunteers are people with a financial background. We have accountants, we have financial planners, certified planners. So they have the knowledge to pass around the financial literacy. And this is our main group of clients that we are serving, that I think they are very close, Annamarie, what you have been sharing before. 70% are females. We are working with a lot of single mom home with kids. And you see 58% of our clients are in the range of 25 years old and 61. And the shocking part is the people, the amount of income that they have. You see the majority are around the 30,000. That is very, very low for the area that we are living. With our clients, I don't know if I mentioned before, with our clients, when they start participating with our services, it's a self-paced service, meaning that they can come and receive as many one-on-one consultations as they want, or they can participate in many workshops that they would like to participate. And they can participate today in one, and maybe in 3 months from now, they come back and they continue their education, trying to see what can work for them. When they come to the Financial Empowerment Center, the first time that they are coming with us, we ask them to complete a financial habit survey. There are 10 questions. So that is going to be our baseline, because we want to know if something changed 3 months later. We call them, we send a text message, we send an email and asking the same questions. Do you have a budget? Are you following a budget? Sometimes that small thing to say, now I am following the budget, is really making a difference on the client. Have you been able to save money in the last 3 months? Yes, and that is something that we really stress with our clients when we are talking about saving. Saving means that you can start small. Doesn't mean you don't need to achieve the $1,000 per month to say I am saving. If you are able to maybe save $5 a week, you are already doing something better. You are already making some arrangement in your budget to be able to come up with that money. So that is something that we do, and we are happy to see that maybe 50% of our clients show a little bit of improvement just to participating in the classes and to gain some knowledge. And again, being able to do the follow-up with our clients is a fantastic opportunity for us to get in touch again with them, saying, okay, maybe you have a coaching session in the past. Would you like to continue working with the plan that your coach offered you last time? Or now we are having these workshops about predatory lending. Maybe you want to learn a little bit more about that. So it's a good opportunity for us to connect again with our clients. This is our website. So I will really encourage you to take a look to see and understand a little more. And again, all the information is there. The most important part is there is no income requirement to receive our services. And the clients that don't need to have a referral in order to be able to join any service with us. And the last thing that I want to share with you, I know that my time is almost done, is a little video. So give me 1 second. It's a video of a client who, 1 second, I have it here. Share sound. Oh my gosh, I miss it. Give me 1 second, please. Sorry for these technical difficulties. Almost there.
Maria, do you want to send it to Maria Najjar by email, and maybe she can play it for us once the third speaker has spoken?
Yes, that will be, I mean, I already found it.
Oh, okay, great. Then go ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear it?
I had a 15-year plan in place before I came to the Financial Empowerment Center to where I would finally have my credit cards paid off. While I've been able to do that, it's going to be complete in less than 2 years. You know, when you're first into it, you know, you don't see the end in sight. And now I see the end in sight because Maria encouraged me. You will get there. Let's just keep working at it. Because with her encouragement, I made a commitment. I stuck to it, and I'm halfway there.
And with that, thank you very much.
That was wonderful, Maria. Thank you so much for your presentation. And now we look forward to hearing from Donna Snyder-White. Donna, please let us know what you're doing with the StandByMe program at UnitedWay.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm excited to be here with everybody this evening. It's great to follow such wonderful, wonderful panelists. And so I thank you for arranging it. Let me just share my screen. Let me know when you can see that. We're good. All right, I think everyone can see that. Can you guys see that screen?
Yeah, we can see what you see, actually.
It's not pulling up in the right way, so let me try to adjust my screen quickly. 1 moment. We're just talking about technical difficulties.
I can share it on my screen.
Yeah, I am having some difficulties here, so I apologize for that, everybody.
No worries.
All right, thank you. I get to suffer through my next slide all the time. So again, thank you everybody for your presence here today. I really do appreciate it. To share a little bit about what UnitedWay at Delaware around financial empowerment. I really am pleased to support the work that UnitedWay does. And next slide, please. I just want to start with a little bit about who we are at UnitedWay at Delaware. So UnitedWay at Delaware's mission is to maximize the community resources to improve the quality of life for all. We do that by focusing statewide, but we also focus on targeted areas of promise. So the communities that need us the most, we provide extra focus in those areas. We also are the voice for the brand for Salem County in New Jersey. We have 3 strategic focus areas: early learning, career success, and financial empowerment. And I will be focusing on financial empowerment. Next slide, please. So at UnitedWay, we do believe that there are too many people and too many children living in poverty today. There's too many families that still are in crisis, and certainly the pandemic has not helped that matter. UnitedWay is uniquely positioned and amplifies individual and corporate partner resources and driving social change through collective impact, a true collective impact model, because no one agency, no one corporation, no one foundation can do this work alone. Our community is very diverse and complex and rich and just a wonderful fabric that makes us what we are today. This collective impact model dramatically changes the trajectory of the state and the future. We have to work together to achieve that. UnitedWay accomplishes a holistic approach by working with partners, by working with the community, and by working with others statewide like you. Next slide, please. So before I get into the details a little bit about StandByMe, which is our financial empowerment program, I have to stop and set the stage for why some of the challenges we have with financial literacy and other things beset us. So when you step back and look at all the socioeconomic factors that make up who we are, you can see from this particular slide that 50% of those really are based on our physical environment. They're based on our zip code, like where we live, our education, access to resources, our job, family supports, the income that we make, and then the environment around us. You know, is it safe, and do I have enough support from either my church or my families? These socioeconomic factors and the environmental factors all contribute to our well-being overall. And when you look at this, it also turns into our health behaviors and those things that like tobacco use and alcohol use. You know, if we're stressed about things, we may turn to other vices. And that also puts burden on our health systems and our own personal health and wellness and well-being, which really only accounts for about 20% of our overall health. And so when you think about all these factors, where you live, your zip code does matter. And so we are very conscious of that when we talk about empowering the community and working with stakeholders. We recognize that there are certain things that tend to be beyond the scope of an individual's control. But these areas are systematic, and also the ecosystems and the infrastructures in place need all of us to make change that we want to see. Next slide, please. This is another way of looking at it, because we walk across a life continuum from the time that we are in our mother's womb to the time that we hit retirement age and are ready for that next level on our journey as we retire from the workforce. Financial literacy and our ability to understand and also apply that knowledge is across our lifetime. And we have to be able to provide programs and resources and give people access, equitable access to those resources, no matter where they are in their walk of life. I know it's very important for us to stay focused on the early childhood development, because we know if we can get ahead of, if we can enrich and give more deliberate attention in the early stages of life to give people the instructions and everything that they need in the beginning, the outcomes, the science has shown that the outcomes and the impact later on life are better for individuals. So when we look at the people we serve, traditionally, we serve low to moderate individuals with low to moderate incomes. These folks are the benefit here is that they are able to qualify for state benefits. But there's also another population that really is on the cusp of just struggling to make it day to day. They are working hard 2 and 3 jobs to make sure that they can keep food on the table. These might be people you find that you interact with every day. Your hairstylist, the person that is making your food when you go to restaurants, and the waits on your table, the people where you shop for your clothes. These hardworking individuals are doing all that they can to make sure that their families are supported, even through COVID. And with COVID, it's been really difficult for those families to thrive. And so we in Delaware have recently launched the ALICE study. And this ALICE stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained and Employed Individuals who don't normally qualify for state benefits, but they're that next group of individuals who are really working hard to stay out of poverty, to not fall back into vices where they may need some state support. And honestly, when they do, they typically still make too much income to even qualify for state benefits. So we really need to think about the programs and the services that we can offer to individuals on both ends of the spectrum. Next slide, please. I was really happy when I started looking into the work that you guys were doing. One of the things we talk about to make sure that people are able to be financially stable is looking at their income and their hourly wage, excuse me. And I was happy to see just a little bit of a research that Virginia is taking good steps to raise that minimum wage. Delaware, we're a little bit behind you guys, but we're going to get there soon. We're catching up soon. Next slide, please. And this is an animated slide, so you just have to click it like 3 or 4 times. Thank you. So our financial empowerment outcomes are this. Individuals have to be, and families have to be safe and stable. We have to increase financial literacy wherever people are. So if it's in the school systems between pre-K and 12th grade, if it's in the colleges and universities, if it's in the workforce, if it's in after people have gotten through all of that and they're in their careers, if it's there with their employers, we have to meet people where they are. And we also need to make sure that the access to services, information, and resources is equitable across the board. And that means that we may not always be able to do the 9 to 5 or the 8 to 5. We have to be able to service programs and individuals at a time that's convenient for them. Individuals and families can manage their own finances. Our long-term goal is making sure that we meet people where they are, but also educate them and make sure that they can relate to the people that they're speaking to, so they can understand what they need to do to move forward, right? We don't want to have to, it's easier to teach somebody how to fish versus giving them a fish, is an old saying, right? And then to make sure that we're sustaining this work over time, we do need sufficient funding from diverse resources to make sure that the services that we provide individual around financial empowerment are still free of charge, at no charge to them. Next slide, please. Next slide. So StandByMe, and just an overview of StandByMe. StandByMe is a financial empowerment program that was originally established as a public and private partnership between UnitedWay of Delaware and the Delaware Department of Health and Social Services. As I said before, it really is a collective impact model that includes multi-sector participation from state agencies and nonprofits, from businesses and education institutions, and ranging pretty much from K to post-secondary. StandByMe provides services, and I'm sorry, I think something got cut off here, free, following the services free of charge through one-on-one personal financial coaching, mind over money workshops, and other financial literacy workshops, free web-based tax preparation, and we also guide folks to free tax services through our VITA partners, through our Delaware EITC collaborative. We also help people who with access to financial planning and financial coaching, as well as FAFSA application supports, to make sure that individuals who are in high school with a desire to head to college understand what's needed for them. Next slide, please. So we work along this continuum of stability. So Delawareans who work with StandByMe, again, it's a free financial coach, gains knowledge and tangible assets that break the intergenerational poverty cycle. That basically means, when we're working one-on-one with an individual, they also represent their family. It's usually not them alone, but their whole household. So the tools, skills, and assets that we provide to them in a way and frame that we can meet them where they are really helps build resilience within themselves, but also helps us eliminate the reliance on public assistance. Next slide, please. So what is StandByMe trying to accomplish? In essence, we're trying to enable every individual and family to be enable individual and family economic empowerment, to break the multi-generational poverty, to address equity and access throughout our state, to help rebuild from the impact of COVID-19, which has devastated not only Delaware, but every state, I do believe every state. And to leverage the data that we use to make informed decisions to reach our outcomes. Next slide, please. So when we look at our outcomes for StandByMe, it really is to reduce the economic insecurity, to ease access to financial knowledge and tools, and to serve those who are ready to make a change. Remember, this is a readiness program. Not everybody is ready to make a change, and you don't want to drag people there to try to force them to do it, because at the end of the day, it's an empowerment model, which means they need to be able to understand and also own the strategies and give them the information so they can take steps themselves. And through this coaching model, this year with COVID, we really have expanded the scope and scale of StandByMe to have a deeper focused role as a navigator. There's so many people that are hurting and looking for basic help to just regain their financial footing, but also get some of their basic needs met. And we've done a number of different conversations with our clients, and even asked them, have they been significantly impacted by COVID? And 38% of them said they have been impacted by COVID. And some of the things that they needed were pretty basic. Some people needed more help with food. Some people needed help with financial assistance around utility payments, or maybe a rent and mortgage payment assistance. So we are trying to lean in more closely with COVID to make sure that we are understanding what these needs are and getting folks connected to those resources through our partnerships with Delaware 211. We are systemically screening for social determinants. We do this at the point of intake and also through periodic surveys back to our clients. And we also, again, are looking forward to secure community-based resources. Next slide, please. And this builds to, sorry, just hit it a couple of times and it'll all come up. So we do have several key performance indicators when we're working with our StandByMe clients. And it was said in the very first presentation how important the budget. You can't track what you don't know. Most people just may spend. I think there was a survey done or a study done by Prosperity Now recently that looked at how much cash people had on hand to survive an emergency nationally. And so about 40, I think the number was like 43% of Americans did not have enough liquid asset on hand to last more than to survive a 3-month gap in their employment and income. 43%. And it's pretty amazing when you think about it. So when we have a pandemic like this that pushes us backwards, you know, you have to know what your budget is and you have to have the discipline to maintain it. So we look at the budget and savings first, taking those small steps to make sure that they establish a discipline of savings. We're also look at how much debt people reduce to improve their credit, because you can't get anything if you don't have good credit. So we try to get people ready for credit and get them in a better position for their credit. Increase savings, and also I said secure an asset like to own a house. Truly one of the foundational ways out of poverty is through home ownership. But home ownership, there needs to be affordable housing available for people. And so that's another whole conversation that I'm glad you guys had before you had this one. Next slide, please.
Donna,
So-
we're coming to the end of the time.
Thank you very much. I'll be quick on this one. This is just some background and history about when we started. We started with one financial coach and in one empowerment center tied to the state service centers. I'm going to forward. Could you go forward, please? Over time, we've added, go back one. There's a bit of a delay. Over time, we've talked about adding programs and locations to meet people where they are. This is just a snapshot of our portfolio of StandByMe programs now. We have 50 plus that addresses seniors, childcare. We have employer through our workforce. We have home, Hispano, minority small business, and also our next gen, which works in the high schools. Next slide. Our outcomes have been phenomenal. Over the last 10 years, our client goals have been fantastic. 91% create budgets, 85% improve their credit, 72% reduce debt by a tune of $30 million. That's the total amount of debt reduced across the program in the last 10 years. 77% increased savings, and which totals $36 million in the last 10 years. Next slide. This work could not happen without a host of partners working in our collective impact model. And so, as I said before, this work is a private-public partnership with UnitedWay Delaware and the state of Delaware, but we also have 12 implementation partners that cross almost every sector in our state, from Goodwill to First, from Children's and Families First and NCALL. We have 42 coaches and a host of clients. This past month, we hit 30,000 clients through StandByMe. Next slide. And this builds, I'm sorry. We do collect demographics, and that's all captured in our data management collection system, which is called Coach Connect. Next slide. Next slide. This work is sustained by a host of funders, and you saw those quickly there. That's just a brief snapshot of, could you go back one? A brief snapshot of who those funders were, but the only thing I wanted to point out here is that the darker gray area, talking about the public-private partnership, we work with the state of Delaware, who helps us fund and support this work. The other more colorful side is the fund that has to be raised to support StandByMe, which is largely done through UnitedWay at Delaware. Next slide. And I just wanted to share a couple of testimonials from you can go to the last one, the next one. Well, there it is. There was one testimony I wanted to share with you of how we were able to remove over almost $5,000 in medical debt from this one client's record. And she says, I cried and prayed and it felt a huge weight lifted from my shoulders. The best decision I could have was to meet with my StandByMe coach. And so last slide, and that's it for me, guys. At the end of the day, and I agree with everything that everyone said, we have to meet people where they are. We have to give them access to the information. And we also have to give them the tools and resources that not only gives them the knowledge, but also gives them the practical application of that knowledge, so they can own and be empowered to take steps themselves. We don't want to continue to help people just to give them that information and let them go. We want to be there with them for the long haul, for whenever they need us. So StandByMe, like the other programs, are really here to make sure that we are working with our families for the long haul. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And now we get to ask our questions to our three speakers who are doing such important work on this important topic. And so if you don't mind, if you could just in the chat box, put in your name is automatically going to come up. Just let us know whether it's a question or a comment and for whom. And if it's for everyone, just say all. And as I'm going to call on everyone in the order that the questions are coming in. So Harriet Hopkins has a question for Maria.
It's actually Jerry.
Jerry, okay.
For Maria, I know you're in South County. Are these programs in other parts of the county?
These programs are available, if I understood correctly, Harriet, these programs are available for everybody in the Northern Virginia area. When we were working in person, we kind of limit our place to the South County area because it was a matter of transportation. Once we move everything online, we were able to expand. So now we are providing services for people who are in Arlington, in Alexandria, in Reston. We have people from New York who joined us once, a little crazy, but yes, now they are open to everybody. And that is one of the beauty of being online.
Other questions?
Can I add to that?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so I would also say that one of the benefits from COVID is to be virtual. We've actually had more engagement with our clients on virtual because they can adjust it to their schedule. I think like Annamarie said, it's okay to have the kids in the background. It's okay to have, someone helping you put dinner on while you're still trying to be on Zoom. It's okay, right? And I think they love that flexibility that's been able to help the program thrive even more during COVID. We've actually seen more clients during COVID than we did on a one-on-one because you've reduced the travel time and things like that.
We have even clients, Donna, that join the class in the car while they have their kids on the back, husband was driving, and the lady was on the phone. Say, "Oh, this is lovely." It was so fun.
All right, I have added a question to the list here. And my question was for Annamarie. Annamarie, I wanted to go back to the article that I read in Forbes magazine, where you had talked about the pushback against financial education. I wonder if you could just say a couple of words about it. Why is there such a pushback, not only in this country, but other countries as well, against financial education? And what is your response to that?
Yes, we have had a lot of pushback on financial education. And I think, probably one of the main reasons is that people think that if you focus on the individual, you are blaming the individual, right? It's the person is not making good decisions. And so, I think people say, it's not financial literacy. People could have all the financial literacy, they can, but then, the system is rigged against them. And if you focus on financial literacy, you are blaming the individual. I think the crises have shown that this is not the case. That you need to have these basic skills to navigate through the system. And I always give this analogy of a, swimming lesson or, sailing lesson. They become very important when you are in a storm, right? And so, if you are not able to swim or if you are unable to sail well and you are in a storm, before somebody is going to come and really grab you, you might sink. And so, you need that basic, I feel like, you need that basic knowledge to survive, to navigate the system. And so, clearly, this is part of the ecosystem. And I really do think, we need, as many people have said, and the other speaker have said, you need to give people then financial asset. We need to, there need to be good labor market, good job opportunities, and so on. It's not that knowledge itself is going to transform people into put them in a safe road just because they have the knowledge. But don't underestimate that basic skill. And I think, more and more we have seen that importance. There have been research as well that shows that financial literacy is not effective. And I think the reason for that, as I think we are also aware, is that it's hard to find the good program. And I think often, and to me, I think what is also happening is that it's not that, you can give a 1 hour seminar and then you have solved the problems, which is, I think, what we have done a lot in the past, right? And I see in the amazing presentation that were done about the program that are there, like it has to be continued. You need to help these people over time. So I'm pretty sure that if Donna and Maria had given 1 hour seminar, it would not be effective. But it's not just because financial education doesn't work. It's that, that's not, it's like, the medicine doesn't work. You cannot cure pneumonia with an aspirin. And, it's not, and so you have to, do the programs that are really needed and follow those people over time. So, I always say it's never waste a crisis. And I think, the crises have told us, in my view, that, we really need that skill and we need to empower people. I love this word empowering because I think this is what financial literacy is about.
Thank you so much. That really clarified that point. I think Sharon had her hand up, so she's going to ask the next question. Sharon?
Thank you. So I have a question for Maria and Donna, the same question, and it's actually two questions. The first one is you've talked about some of the challenges, but if there was one thing you could fix, our biggest challenge that you have in working with your clients that you would want us to be aware of, what would that be? And the second is, where do you see most of your successes? Like the woman in the video was very happy with the success she's made on working towards paying off her credit card. So that's a wonderful success story. But I was just wondering, what would you want us to be aware of as far as your biggest challenges with the clients? What would help them? What's the biggest thing that you're facing that keeps you from helping them? And also, what would be your biggest successes? Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. That is a tough question because what we are seeing that it is very complex, because usually when we have a client who is facing a financial hardship, is facing a financial trouble, the problem is not just one thing. It's not just the salary that is not enough. It's not just that the credit score is not working. It's not enough that the rent is too high because they are living in Fairfax County. It's a combination of factors. When we start working with the client, you can see that maybe the client is working 40 hours, a full-time job, plus a part-time job over the weekend to be able to cover their basic needs. But when you start working with them, you realize that actually maybe if the mom has kids and the kid has a father who left the home, they are not receiving any kind of financial support. So maybe we need to ask the client to contact or provide information for legal services so somebody can help with that part as well. So I think it's had so many things to consider, and I don't know if I can focus in one. One of the basics sometimes is just that there is not enough emphasis on the importance of a budget. Everybody said, I don't need to budget because I don't have enough money. And we actually say the contrary. Now is the time that you budget. So when you have the money, you know how much you need to actually work with that budget in your house. So that will be my thing on that. And regarding of success, I think is one of the biggest thing is help our clients to gain the knowledge to that they have certain rights. They have the possibility to check, for example, their credit report, and they can actually work on that by themselves instead of being able to pay somebody to fix their credit report. And that is a gigantic thing, because you are seeing in the news and in the radio station everywhere, pay me and I will fix your credit score like that. And everybody believes that, but its reality is it's not going to happen. Pay whatever you want. Nobody's going to fix your credit report. You will need to work on that. And that is going to take at least 6 months or maybe a year to be able to fix it. So being able to pass that information that is basic to our clients and give them the confidence that actually they don't need to pay that, save that money, use it to pay your debt. And with that, we are going to be helping you to be able to improve your credit report. I think that is fantastic.
So I agree with Maria. Budget. A lot of people just don't know what they spend their money on. They get their paycheck and before you know it, it's gone. And they can't remember what happened to it. But writing it down on a piece of paper and just listing out, tracking it, just listing out where your money goes for a week is very eye-opening, right? So I would say a budget. And then the strongest success, it's hard to pinpoint. There've been so many really great success stories, but I do recall this one gentleman, his name is Jose. He, older gentleman, had a business, very successful, but divorce threw his whole life upside down. And he had 2 kids. He had custody of his kids. And so he lost pretty much everything. But he reached out to StandByMe and he was able to over time get his footing underneath him and get himself back on track. And he is one of our strongest advocates today about the program. And he just appreciates that his kids saw him rise and fall and rise again. And then that gives him encouragement and made him feel good. And he just said, I'm teaching my kids the skills they need to protect themselves. And that's that 2-generational approach that we were talking about. So they will be financially competent, right? Not just have the knowledge and you don't use it and you lose it, but to put in practical application so they are competent in that skill building.
Great, thank you both.
Thank you so much, Maria and Donna. James and then Judy.
Yes, I'd just like to ask the final question, even though we're not in the final question time yet. And this final question is, what can congregations like our two do to help, if anything? What can an individual do to help? And that's for all 3 folks, I guess. And keep it to 30 seconds.
I would say, I'm going to start. I would say you guys are doing a great job because you've already started the conversation, right? Try to make people as comfortable as they can be, and knowing that, everybody gets in situations where it's out of their control and it's no one's fault, right? So blame is not what you want to do, but just provide the right resources and the tools that they need. And I would say the person that has that conversation is critical because they need to be without judgment, empathetic, and be able to connect with folks to make them feel comfortable enough to build that trust so they can have the conversation about their financials. Financials, opening a stranger up to your financials is scary. So building trust is very important.
I was going to echo Donna and said that, again, what you are doing right here, be able to talk about it, I think is opening already the conversation. And being able to know that there is help outside and the services and the resources are close by, I think that is huge. Because one of the challenges that we have is that not many people know that we exist, that this service is available to them, that they are free, that actually you are not going to pay anything to access to this type of services. And I think that is huge. Again, just the sole help of you to pass the word around, explaining that there is help available, you are already helping the community.
And I want to say, financial issues are not just the things for the poor or the unemployed, it's for everybody. And so the best service would be prevention. So try to avoid, getting into the problems. And often, many of the work is trying to solve the problem once we have created it, but try to avoid it. And it starts with talking about money. And so the church is an ideal place because people have already trust. And then, be a resource for the community as well, in maybe what you can offer or providing the information where people can go and so on. But kind of this idea, take good care of your money, I think would be a good way to, start and make sure that everybody, all of the community shares that, and the community can come together as well and, help those for which this has been more difficult.
Thank you all so much. I think Judy is next on the list with a question, and then Kathy.
My question is a flavor of what James just asked. I was thinking of the explanations of the high school budgeting, financial planning that you were talking about, and was wondering if this was something that congregations could do, because I wasn't sure if it was actually part of the school day schedule, or if it was something that you were offering or encouraging others to offer, outside of school hours. I think of our own sons 20 years ago when they were in high school, and a government teacher had a unit at the end of the year about budgeting and saving and how you're going to spend your money when you go off to college. And I think of the many students now, whether they're going to college or going into the workforce, who are making these decisions maybe for the first time. And how do we help them do, as you just said, preventive education? I think it is good that we've all been talking about it, but I'm always encouraged when we move from the talking to actually doing. But I think we may need guidance on the best way to do the doing.
I think it's important to advocate for financial literacy in the schools. Your own local school, I think Virginia already has a mandate. And so, maybe sometime it might be a matter of helping also the teachers and so on. But, having it in the school does three things. First of all, it's a big access and everybody has it. I look at the data and I can tell you that the people who are financially literate, the young people, is a very small proportion, and they are the privileged student coming with the, background of parents which are college educated and things like that. It also reaches the parents. And I think that can be important. And also, I think it is going to have a much higher level, probably, of quality than perhaps providing it in other places, maybe the local bank or things like this. And so I think there is a very important role for the school to play on those topics. And young people are making consequential financial decisions, like this college, the decision to go to college is critically important, and which college they go to, how much is going to cost, and whether they'll be able to afford the student loan perhaps they have to take is an important step in their life. So, I think it's really important that we invest in the young, and the school is the ideal place to do it.
I totally agree. We at StandByMe in Delaware, we worked with our Department of Education, and financial literacy actually is embedded in our student success plans. So it's important for the state. They definitely understand the importance of financial literacy and at that early learning stage. And so we've tried to support that by creating programs like at the childcare that go into the childcare centers, but also that goes into the school space that are age appropriate for sure. At the high school level, because you're right, kids do kind of make those career decisions, whether they delay career through college, going to college first, or they go right into the workforce through an apprenticeship or something like that. When they choose college, they come out the other side with heavy burdens of student loans if their parents cannot afford the 100% college tuition. And certainly with COVID, there have been some creative things happening with college tuition, which we're thankful for. But kids do need that, and families do need that understanding of what it takes to get me into college. And so we have embedded our StandByMe Next Gen, which focuses on life choices and career and college through the 9th to 12th grade. So it's important to work with the schools to develop that curriculum that can be embedded into the school day. It's not adding burden to the teacher's load, but come in as a package to help complement what they do, and let the teacher kind of take a minute back that he or she is not developing that curriculum, but they understand it enough to support it, but let the other financial professional come in to teach that piece of it, and then they can discuss it. So it's a win-win from the load of the teachers, because they're under so much stress right now with all that they have to do with COVID and still get learning done. If there's a way that you can partner to do it, it would be, it is phenomenal when we do it, but it certainly could work in Virginia too.
And for the person who said requiring it in college would be a great idea, let me tell you that, we are trying to do that. So for example, at GW, we are teaching financial literacy. And I want to convince James and Irene, who are very powerful professors and are very close to the president, to kind of make sure we really make it, much broader. And, making a requirement is actually difficult, but I do think it is a skill that everybody needs. And so I'm going to try to rely on those Foster power couple to do that.
You got to think that, and you got to think that what we do today around financial literacy really is helping to tool the next workforce. So I think you have to tie it to the workforce as well. And that way it has a stronger impact when we're talking about, changing the current state of people's lives to get them ready for the next great job, right?
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to add is at the Financial Empowerment Center, when the pandemic started, we started offering a series of financial literacy for middle schoolers and high schoolers, and it was very well attended. They didn't know anything about it. And those services, are available for everybody. So if you are interested in some point to bring something to your local church, to your own congregation, that is something that can be arranged. The resources are out there, and you can actually provide those to your clients.
It's a great idea to have a local FAFSA.
Thank you so much, Annamarie and Maria and Donna. I'm going to hand it over to Phil and James. I think we're at time, so educate us on what we should be doing.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's time to call it a day. We do have some questions remaining in the chat. Maria, could you please preserve those questions, and I'll get it out to the individual folks who are on the event. I just want to thank everyone for all the information, the enthusiasm, the spirit with which you presented it today. It was just amazing. For those of you who have been in the audience, I think you'll agree with me and want to do a little bit of one of these like this, or one of these like this, whichever way you'd like to do it. And thank our speakers, and we'll be seeing you next time on Pathways Out of Poverty in Northern Virginia. Take care.